So our almond tree is blooming inside the bedroom. We brought it in because it's really not supposed to be in this environment, this cold of weather, where we get a little colder than what it's supposed to be. So we brought it inside for the first year. We're going to leave it out next year, but it's already blooming and shooting out some leaves. So looking nice already. But today I'm going to cut a hole in the wall here. This used to be a window, much like the one here in the kitchen, but they filled it in. This is the bedroom, so I guess they wanted more wall space. But what we're going to do is put a small window in just to be able to flow air. This is the window that we're putting in. It's a 900 by 500 millimeters. So it'll take up most of this, the width that we have here, down to this line here that I've got put in the wall. So when we go outside into the greenhouse, you can see here what we're looking at. So I drilled a hole in the wall just to kind of see where we were located. So now I know where that comes out. But our width here is 850 millimeters. So the way this window works is it should kind of butt up against the back of these sections here. These are actually big, large stones, but I don't know if I'm going to push the window out this far, maybe, but we're going to have to take this material off, you know, a few millimeters that way and a few millimeters that way. And we're going to come down 500 millimeters. And then what I'm going to do is fill in. I'm going to fill in where this plant is sitting, fill it in kind of how it's supposed to be. So we're going to add a layer of insulation right here, and then more stones, and then there'll be a window seal on the inside and outside. So we're going to get that started. I'm going to cut that. I'm going to go ahead and cut this open. Start cutting this open and see what kind of mess we can make. Then I can finish this beam along the top and get this wall finished. As you can see, I've already got most of the filler work done. Probably a little touch up needed, but especially the beam. And then when it wraps under, that will also need to be done. And so ultimately it will end up looking like this one. So, well, let's get started. So I've got my head all covered up, and I got me a new mask that covers my eyes, gives me a nice respirator here. So we're gonna try this thing out. I think this is gonna work a lot better because we were trying to use glasses, and this dust, man, it just sticks to the glasses, and it's within a moment or two, you can't see or anything. So we're gonna see how this works. I'm about to make a lot of dust, so we'll see how it works. Yeah. Okay, it's a couple weeks later now from beginning the window just because of weather and time concerns, but I have completed the initial buildup of around the window, so I have everything fairly level and plumb and squared off and ready for the material will come from here and go down and under, or would be on top of the window. And I have my insulation installed. I have the bricks installed on the inside. I just need to clean up the debris before I start putting this it's like a tile board in. So I've got my tile board pieces cut here. This is going to be the top piece. This will be the face. And then I have another one here that'll be another top piece. So it'll ultimately be a 90-degree with a piece underneath that fills in the gap and gives it all level, and it'll give some strength to that corner. And so I'm going to start mixing up the mortar to glue this part in. Okay, I've got the first two pieces down. I've got the small piece here, and I've got the larger piece. You can see that. Got that placed in here. And now I'm going to put another piece on top of here that the window will actually, it won't sit on it because there'll be another layer of insulation, spray foam insulation. And I'm going to do that and get that perfectly level. This mortar bed here is really level. So all I got to do is just put a nice thin coat on here and basically glue that piece down. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so it's all installed now. Now it just has to dry. We've got it nice and level, both directions, sideways and front to back. And now the window will just sit right on top of that. The window will come right to the corners. I still have to fill in the areas here. So I may do that with some of my red bricks here that we pulled out of the wall. But they may be a little too big. I just have to check and see before I mortar them in. But so far, looks pretty good. Next thing I'm going to do is install the reed material along the top here and bring it down into this little recess. I don't know if you can see, but that's like recessed a little bit. So I'm going to bring the reed down into that and then fill in with this wall material across the wood beam and get that fairly shaped before I put the window in, because I don't want to have to deal with having to cover the window and clean it and do all that stuff. So that is the next order of business. All right, well, I've got my first coat on. Installed the reed material and really worked it in to the window, and I'll let that dry. Probably take a couple of days for that to completely dry to put the second coat on. But I'll do that over the next couple days, and hopefully be able to get the window in real soon. All right, so I've got the window test fit, and the side over here is about 100 millimeters. The other side is about 90 millimeters. So I've already cut my bricks and they are ready to go in. So I'm basically just going to put a bed of mortar in and just stick them in place. And that should leave me a little bit of space on either side to spray in some foam insulation and do some minor adjustments once I'm permanently installing the window. But I'm going to do that now, and we'll see what it looks like when we're done. So first we have to wet this area, get the bricks nice and wet. That allows the mortar to bed in and kind of stick to stick to the bricks a little better. I've already wet the red bricks, so I'm just gonna spray some water in here with a little pump sprayer. Okay, got the bricks in, and you can see I really just packed in what was kind of squeezing out, and trying to make it where there are no real voids in the mortar. I've spaced it with some reed material to give me that little bit of wiggle room to spray some foam in and fine tune the window and make it perfect, both sides. So now what I'm gonna do is just mix up a little bit of concrete and fill in the gaps here. Just kind of work it in, and that way these will be ready. Then I can build up the corner that will be the front face of the window there. And that'll come out level with the wall, and it'll stick out just a little bit further than the window. It should be just a little bit further out than the actual window pane, so that the wall sits just this, maybe a few millimeters, 10 millimeters or so, further out than the window, but pretty much the window will be fairly smooth with the inside wall, unlike the other windows that are set further out and gives me a window bank. So the window bank will be inside the greenhouse. So this should set up pretty quickly. Then I can remove my window and do some finish work on the edges of the bricks and make sure I don't have any voids on the inside. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this while it's still a little wet. Fill in the holes on both sides with just standard concrete. So you can see here that my concrete is fairly stiff because I want to pack it in. I don't want it to run out, so I'm making it just a little bit thick. I don't know what you would call that. The slump is pretty big, so I'd say that's probably like a 6-inch slump or something. But that way I can pack it in and really make it rigid, and it'll stay in place. Alright, well, that's got all the gaps filled in, and I'm gonna go clean out my bucket now. Okay, so I'm about to put on my, hopefully my final coat of the ground layer. So we still have just a little bit of filling to do. You can see it's not perfectly smooth here, but mostly just on the sides here. I think I've got the top pretty close. I added a little bit up by the ceiling. There was a low spot there and low spots over here. So I've got those pretty smooth. I may go back and do a final skim coat once it's all really close to level. But I'm gonna do this final coat here, hopefully the final coat, to get the ground built up, and then that'll be ready for my middle coat of wall material. But everything is looking good so far. You can see here I've I've added a piece of corner metal that gives me a nice clean edge, and that is screwed into the wood header, so it should be nice and firm. The light gray is actually Grundputz, and the darker gray is concrete. So we're really close to getting the final form for the window to sit in. So I'm going to mix that up now and go ahead and put it on. So before we install the material, you have to wet the surface first. So I'm going to do that now. Close-up of it. I think I got my corners pretty, the light's giving me shadows. All right, there we go. I think I got the corners pretty nice and square, at least preliminarily. Everything looks nice, and so now I think we are ready for the middle coat, which will come later. I'm not sure if I'm going to install the window first or not, but we'll see. But I think everything is looking pretty good. So that area is done.